Welcome to the Saints Crown Show. This is a show for men who want to grow. In a world where confusion is the culture and passivity is the practice, we exist to take men from gaining massive clarity to taking massive action. Because we believe that if we can help bring order to your life, you can bring order to your world.
Welcome back to the Saints Crown Show. I'm your host, Zachary Reed, joined here with co-founder of Saints Crown, Preston Woody. And today we are continuing the conversation by providing clarity to some of the burning questions that were submitted to us by men like you. So let's dive in. Let's talk about what the number one issue that high-performing people deal with. So I feel like it's kind of along the same lines, like people who are plan or high performers. So as a high performer, what's some of the issues that high performers deal with?
Okay.
How do they get in their own way?
That's a remarkable question. Let's talk about the problem and the villains. So, and I'll share with you based on some of the clients that I have, but there's like three potential really issues that men deal with. Number one, they don't really know what they want. They're confused. They don't have clarity. Number two is they get in their own way, okay, themselves. People are their own worst enemy. And then number three is what I call distraction demons. We live in a culture of distraction. Yeah. Everything's vying for your attention. So your focus and energy is your greatest gift to yourself and to the people around and about you. But the greatest of the three is themselves. People get in their own way. They sabotage themselves. The biggest thing that high-performing people deal with is they don't have a sounding board for their internal shadow dialogue. I call it like there's the world, the flesh, and the devil. I call it the shadow self. There's a part of you that wants you to pursue comfort and avoid pain.
Yeah.
That's where your limiting beliefs dwell and they live. That's trying to pull you back into comfort. And limiting beliefs, what are they? They aren't necessarily wrong beliefs. Like wrong beliefs is something that's just completely inaccurate and false. A wrong belief may be that you're stupid because you went to a certain school. Like that's okay. Well, that's wrong. Or God hates you. That's wrong. We can replace that with truth. A lot of people deal with wrong beliefs. I mean, that's an important step. But limiting beliefs are much more seductive.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why. Because there's an element of fact to them. Okay? Limiting beliefs are designed to protect you. So, for example, a limiting belief someone may have is if I go out and I start my brand, then I'm going to get criticism, and maybe my friends, my buddy might think that I think I'm too good for him, and I might lose my friend group. Right?
Yeah.
And the belief is if you go out and go public and you build your company, you're going to lose your friends. That's the limiting belief.
Yes.
It's not necessarily wrong, okay? But it's limiting you from going down that path. A lot of people aren't able to do what they want to do, and they may have a vision and a result, and they may go toward it and change their strategy. But the thing that gets in their way is not plans and strategy. It's themselves, their own limitations, their own limiting beliefs. And if you don't have a structure in place to identify limiting beliefs and then also to identify them and crush them, wipe them from your nervous system and from your psyche and from your spirit, every time that you climb a little bit, your limiting belief or your flesh or yourself is going to say, you don't deserve to be up there. You need to come down here. No matter how much effort you put, you're always going to cut yourself down at the knees. So that is the most powerful thing. And that's the number one thing I see with professional athletes, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and even pastors. The number one thing that gets in their way is themselves.
So what is like you talked about having like a framework in your mind to be able to work through the limiting beliefs that may attack you. What are some of like the practical things that you could do to avoid limiting beliefs or how to attack them head on?
That's a good question. Is one might ask, how do I avoid them? We all have them, and we are going to have to acknowledge them at certain degrees in our life because our psyche came up with them to protect ourselves from pain. So how do you overcome? Before you overcome it, you must first identify what it is. And it's difficult to identify what it is, what I found, unless you have someone really guiding you through that process. Even me, in the practice, about 50% of what I do is helping people identify what their limiting belief is, and then sorting out how we can crush it. So I can't really do it effectively. I can do it to a degree by myself, but not extremely effectively. I've become proficient at it, but that's why in life we need other people.
Yes.
So right now, culturally, friendship stinks. Friends are not good. And we needed friends, and friends were the sort of people that we sorted through our limiting beliefs with, like historically. But in the last decade, we've seen this rise of an industry that never really existed before, called the coaching industry. What the coaching industry really is, it's a replacement for good friendship in a way. You're paying for someone to ask you the right questions and identify the things that get in your way to help you get there faster. Coaching, in a sense, is a professional friendship that you're paying for, of someone that's going to tell you the truth and go down into the dungeon with you and face that dragon, turn on the lights and sort it out. So the question would be is, are you willing to go there and sort out that monster and turn on the lights and see what's actually there, what that limitation is? Because to a degree, you have to admit
that there's something there.
That there's something there.
Yeah, that's so good. And I loved how even the other night, like on one of our coaching calls with our men in the Men of the Crown, they're like, someone asked a great question, like, what's the difference between a coach and a mentor? And I love the fact that, like, coaching, like when you invite coaching in, you're really hiring them for like accountability and to keep you actively running in what you're doing. It's like if you're an athlete, you wouldn't hire someone to like mentor you to be a better athlete. You're going to hire a coach to make sure that you're doing the disciplines and the work and the effort and like the things that are needed to become a better, stronger athlete.
Yes.
And so in the same way with business and life, sometimes you need to have a third party person walking you through those things, asking you hard questions, so that you can ultimately grow. Whereas like a mentor is really someone that would just pour into you, like encourage you, give you wisdom on things that they've done before. But a coach is going to push you. You're paying a coach to push you intentionally so that you can get better.
Yes. I love that contrast, that mentorship, which is important to have both roles in your life.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are pursuing mentorship, but they don't have the coaching element in their life. And what is the difference? Mentorship is one saying, here, learn from my journey, and here's what I did, and do like I did, and I'm going to help pull you along, and a lot of telling. Coaching is a lot more asking and digging to help unlock that person's highest performance ability. And so mentorship is really 80% telling, 20% asking. Coaching is 80% asking, 20% telling. You are helping them get really clear on what they actually want, not what they don't want, what's getting in their way, and you coach them through that, and then helping them take massive action. But that is why coaching has skyrocketed. Is it's an environment, and it's a space for people to really compress months into minutes of hyper clear thinking. And that's why I think it's an incredibly valuable asset that I've had in my life. This last year, my coaches have helped me overcome and identify limiting beliefs in regards to my faith and my business and my marriage, my relationships. And if I didn't have those people in my life voluntarily leading me into those places, I don't know that I would have faced them and moved past those barriers.
That's really good. Like, let's talk about if you're in a relationship and you're a high capacity leader, what are some things that you might face? I know for me personally, I can speak to this, that I'm very driven in the things that I'm doing. Like I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And so I have to be really aware and conscious of not bringing that into like my personal relationships. Like not everything is about the things that I'm tackling as a high capacity person. And so I think one of the challenges that high capacity leaders might face is this balance between the things that they're running after and then also like their personal lives that they're stewarding. Like we see this in the business community a lot with leaders who may have an incredible business, but a horrible marriage and family life. So let's maybe talk a little bit about that. Like what are some of the things that those individuals might need to tweak or change in order to bring balance in those areas of their life?
In life, everyone gets what their standard is. So and you might say, no, I want a better family, but my family's in shambles. Okay. Well, you get what you tolerate, and what you tolerate is what your standard actually is. Okay. A lot of people think their standard is higher. No, your standard is not what you should have, what you must have. Okay. So ultimately, if it's low, a standard in one of the areas of life, the first step is to actually identify that you need to raise your standard and that it shouldn't be a should, but rather become a must. Like I have to. It's not that I should do it tomorrow. I should figure this out next week. I had someone saying, yeah, I really should join a coaching program, but I really should lose weight first. And I've been trying to do that for some time. That's kind of the first thing in my own way. And I've got weight off, but I put it back on, and I really should hire a trainer, and that would be that would really be helpful. But I really should make more money so that I can do that. I can't really afford it, and I've got like 5 shoulds out of them, right? And what happens is people like that, they know what they should do in the past, and they leave behind them a big pile of should in their life, right? Their life ends up being based on shoulds. Yes. So what we have to do is you will never make action or make progress with a should. Yeah. What you have to do is transform your shoulds into musts. So this is my standard and I must have it. It's not a should anymore. It's a must. And when you find yourself thinking and saying should, you realize that that's not your standard.
Yeah.
So that would be the number one thing is what is your standard? And then Zach, we've been working on the Core 9 Life Blueprint, which is the 9 areas of life. And we've taken a much more holistic approach for how we build a remarkable quality of life and build a life blueprint. And what I had found over years of coaching clients, they had 1 or 2 categories really well. They had their wealth, it was going pretty well. Their career, pretty well. Maybe their body, they were in great shape and they were crushing it. But their soul was in turmoil. Their marriage was on the rocks. Yeah. They had hardly any friends, right? And so these categories were out of alignment. But whenever you see these 9 different categories, your spirit, your connection with God, your soul, your mind, emotions, and will, your body, your physiology, your strength, your skills and abilities, your love life, your family, your community, your wealth, your career, your contribution. When you see these 9 categories, then you realize the area that's being neglected. And so it's kind of like a wheel. Yeah. So we think of the Core 9 in context of a wheel that's rolling. And what happens when one area is chipped out or not well developed, it ends up being clunky. Yeah. And life ends up being bumpy and clunky as one area expands and another area is underdeveloped. So what we do is look at life from a holistic perspective. Is I'm not just responsible for stewarding my wealth, but I'm responsible for stewarding every single area of my life. And there's just these 9 areas that I need to build and sort out. And again, what happens to one area ends up improving another. Yeah. And so that step would be getting clear on what do you actually want your life to look like in all 9 areas. Because if someone's marriage is pretty rough, they probably don't have a compelling enough standard or vision for what it can be. Thank you for investing in yourself with us. And if you feel like, hey, I found my tribe, right now go ahead and subscribe to the show. Or you can just find us on social media at Instagram at saints.crown. I hope to see you soon.